Be still. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Judy Hayes with Design Realty Group.
And I'm Darla Nunley with Design Realty Group.
So we are going to chat today on Real Talk about questions you should ask your real estate agent when you're interviewing them. So we're going to start with sellers. So this video is going to be sellers. If you have had pillow talk during the holidays or the last few months with your spouse or significant other and you want to sell your house, first step is to contact a real estate agent. And, you know, I do encourage you to interview multiple agents. There's lots of personalities. There's lots of brokerages. There's lots of marketing. So there's a lot to know. This is your largest asset.
Right.
So
where do most people find their realtor? Where do they start looking when they go to sell? Because it's typically sellers that hunt for realtors, and buyers just click buttons on Zillow and get whoever. But we're going to talk about why that's not a good idea.
So the number one place a seller gets is a listing agent is a referral.
Exactly.
They ask their family and friends.
Somebody that they used before, right?
And then they go online. That's their second choice. They go online. But we do a lot of online leads, and I can tell you that 3 out of every 4 leads we get are buyer leads versus seller leads. And we're always saying we want more seller leads. We want more seller leads. They're just fewer of them. They're easier to convert because it seems like a lot of people, like Darla said, just get on lunch and they're bored and they're clicking to look at houses. But when your seller is serious and they're looking like they're pretty much ready to go. I had 3 listing appointments yesterday.
Well, and I think buyers and sellers, they feel like what they're doing both is important, but sellers go about it the way that we really want buyers to go about it, right? So we want sellers do the research, they ask around. We're going to go over some of the questions that you want to ask. And we really feel like in another video, we're going to talk about why buyers really should be handling that way as well.
Right. So I'm a heavy listing agent. I went on 3 listing appointments yesterday, so they were all a little unique. So we'll kind of start there. So I got one over in the Woodlands, and when she called me on the phone, one of the very first questions she asked me, that is personally what I was telling her, this is kind of my biggest challenge when I'm going to my listings is, she's like, I'm in the Woodlands. Where do you live? And I'm like, well, I live in Huffman. She's like, okay, where's your office? I'm like, well, we kind of flip. We don't have a physical office anymore. We just don't. I'm going to guess, I mean, this is a total guess. We need to research it. 50% of agents don't have a solid brick and mortar office. And even if they do have an office, let's say they are under Keller Williams in the Woodlands, doesn't mean that they live in the Woodlands, nor does it mean that they even step foot in the door of that office in the Woodlands.
Look at all the EXP agents and the JLA agents. They don't go live and work in the same area. They may have their EXP agent in Conroe and they may live over in Katy. Why? Because they've interviewed that broker and that's who they want to work for, but they work under and in specific areas that they're used to working in.
So she's hitting on exactly what we're talking about. As I'm a broker, so Darla is an agent. So she has chosen to work any minute now. She can go work anywhere she wants to under any agent or any brokerage. And she chose to work under Design Realty Group for her and I's marketing plan, our business strategy, our entrepreneurs.
We work at the same.
We work at the same level. There are different things. Some people want to be part-time. Some people want to be full-time. Some people want to do things all by themselves. Some people want to do things as a team. There's a lot of different aspects that go into a real estate agent determining what brokerage they want to work for and where that location is. Because you may live in boondocks, you know, way in the country, and you're like, hey, I want to drive into the city and I want to work downtown Leeds. That's a choice. So don't let it hinder you and go, oh, I can't interview Judy because she doesn't live in the Woodlands and her office isn't in the Woodlands. Okay. So in lieu of worrying about where I, the listing agent, live or work, Darla, what would you encourage the seller to ask me?
Okay.
As an interview question.
Where are your listings?
Where are you listing? Where are you listing? So that question came to me very hard. I had a hard interview about a year ago. So I went back and I made an Excel spreadsheet for every single listing that I did in the past 2 years. I updated every month. It tells me the list price and the sales price. So that was an excellent question that I was asked is, hey, what's your percentage of how many times do you sell at your list price? Okay. Versus bringing the prices down. And I was like, that is an excellent question. So an interview that I went up against, I got the listing. I'll have it. It'll be live this next week. She interviewed with another local agent that their marketing strategy was, we're going to list it up here and we're going to come down $20,000 every 2 weeks until we hit the price that people start looking at our house. Look at her face. And I'm like, that's not how I do it. And I know this agent very well. And I'm like, that's her strategy because all of her listings are way too high.
You're just
wasting your days on the market.
You're hoping that a buyer comes out there and hits, and that's
rolling that's a gamble.
We're not a bargain table.
No.
Houses are not bargain tables. You don't put it up here, and I've had 2 listings last year that ended up going, we went off market because they wanted to start too high, and I kept telling them, you're not, no showings.
And you have to realize, you need a listing agent that has a personality that's going to work well with you. Right. Okay. So that, I told them right off the bat, I said, that's not how I work. Yeah. And let me tell you how I work. I went into my market because if you interview with 3 listing agents, I can tell you, you're going to get 3 different personalities, 3 different styles, 3 different marketing strategies, and very likely 3 different prices, unless it's a super cookie cutter house that is 3 of them in a row on the same street.
And you have to remember, the same time you're interviewing us,
we're interviewing
you.
Because I just turned one down.
Right. Because we want to make sure that we're a fit with you as much as you're a fit with us. Because
you're our work spouse for the next 30, 60, 90 days.
And we want to make sure that when we give you advice,
you listen to it.
You're taking it in, and you're researching it, or you're agreeing with it.
Right.
Or you're giving back and saying, no, here's what I'd rather do. I mean, it's really a working, pliable relationship.
Oh, it's a spouse. It's a work spouse. And I really like what you said. Here's a direct statement. Don't hire me if you don't trust me or think I know what I'm doing.
Right. I don't. Yeah, that's not going to be.
Don't hire me, because if I'm trying to say something and you're like, no, and you're fighting against me, I'm happy to explain why I've listed at this price, or why I've done this, or why I've done that. I'm going to be very upfront with you. And if you don't agree with me, okay, but if we're going to work together, you have to trust me. Okay, right. So choose the agent that has the knowledge, experience, and trust.
And we have to be able to trust you, because we have a confidentiality and a fiduciary duty that we talk about as part of our interviewing process, where we talk about what our job is as a realtor, what we are supposed to do. Right. Loyalty, fiduciary duties, confidentiality. We talk about all those things, and those things have to go both ways between the agent and the seller.
So we chased a squirrel. I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet. So what I did to kind of prove to everybody, so I had a client ask me, where do you live, and where's your office at? And it was not in the same location of their house. So that client was in the Woodlands. I live in Huffman, and we don't have an office anymore. So those were my answers. And she said, well, I don't know. I said, well, let me explain to what I have. So I have my spreadsheet of everything that I have listed in the past 2 years. I've highlighted everything on there green that sold at or above list price, that and could have been in a multiple offer. At least 50% of everything I have sold is that. And I will say this, I am not known as the superstar listing agent of Huffman, Texas, or Porter, or Kingwood, but I have sold so many homes in all of those places. I am very diverse. Darla is very diverse. So my response to that question was, here's my spreadsheet. Here's my 200 houses that I've sold. Here's the price range, and the price range will vary from a $1,000 lot to a $1.2 million home. Okay, and area from Livingston, I've got a $800,000 or $925,000 listing coming up next week, and all the way to Crosby. I've got everything in between. So what does that tell you? What it tells me, what I'm trying to sell, because if I'm trying to sell you my value, how am I valuable to the seller in the Woodlands? I'm valuable because when you look at all the houses and the price points, I can sell anywhere. My marketing and my experience sells in any price point in any market that I choose to. So we were just saying, Darla made a good point. We're going to make our own judgment calls. We're licensed in the state of Texas, right? We can literally sell commercial property. We can do that at all times.
I've been asked, can you help me sell a house or buy a house in San Antonio? And I've had to say, I'd love to help you, but that's not my market. Like,
we can't access the data there.
We can't access the data, and I can't tell you a whole lot. I can't show up and show you houses on a whim. So no, we know our limits, and we're happy to say, that we can't do.
Yeah. So although we're licensed in Texas, although we could do commercial if we wanted to, we also would love a $6 million listing in the Galleria or River area, but that's not our area. So it would be something we would be all giddy about, but in the long run, we'd have to say, you know what, we're going to have to pass that. We're going to have to refer that to somebody else because we don't know enough about that area. But let's get back to, do not hang yourself up on asking the real estate agent where they live or where their office is, because honestly, that's irrelevant. So Darla, what is important? Let's ask them 3 questions.
The agent or the seller?
Let's have the seller ask the agent. Top 3 questions.
Okay, so number 1, you're going to want to know, where do you sell for? Where do you sell? Where do you mainly sell? Show me what your listing prices were, your list price versus sales price. We actually can pull those percentages down.
Right. Next thing I'm going to ask you is, are you full-time or part-time?
Correct.
There's 80% of all agents are part-time.
Mm-hmm. They've sold 1 or 2 houses. How many houses have you sold?
And how many houses have you sold and in what time frame? How many houses did you sell in 2023? How many houses did you sell in 2024? And in my opinion, if it's not a minimum of 24, which is 2 a month, they are not full-time. It's really, to me, 36, 3 a month. They are not full-time. Okay. Next, very importantly, what marketing are you doing for me? What are you doing differently in the marketing scheme that other agents, you can keep rolling the agents in. So it is very important to have somebody with your like personality. Okay. Right now I have an engineer client. That is a unique personality that you I have to be patient. They ask a lot of questions. They're always good questions, but they're very analytical.
I just had a pilot.
Then there's some people that don't care. I really love those people, like, do your thing. Oh, that's a blessing. But do not hone in on the fact that the real estate agent doesn't live in your neighborhood.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than whether or not they're specifically
in your
local in your neighborhood to you. There's a lot more to it. Judy and I have been doing this a long time, and we are numbers, database driven, and we know how to research. We know how to look at things. And if the seller comes up to us and says, let's say that you're out in a rural part of our area and there's something specific going on there. Judy and I know the resources to go to look those things up. We know the questions to ask the seller. We know already what buyers are going to be asking for, so we can ask the sellers those questions. We can do a whole lot of work up front in research that helps you get comfortable with making sure that you've got someone that's going to work for you, that's not necessarily just putting it up on the MLS and letting it go. We're doing the homework behind the scenes that you necessarily don't know to do.
And that negotiation skill is important, discussing how you can negotiate. Yes, everybody negotiates money, but there's other ways to negotiate. Do you need a lease back? Do you need more time? Are there any non-realty items we can throw in their closing costs? There's a lot of that. So you really want to get down to the agent's personality, their experience, and their knowledge. Okay.
So I tell people, like, you're going to want to know, how do you communicate? Do you communicate on text? Do you communicate? Because I've worked with older people that they don't text, they don't email. They want me calling them on everything. That's really important, because calling and get on the phone with people is very time consuming these days. But if that's what you need, I'm certainly going to do that. Right.
And I will say that not a dig, but say elderly people are one of the most people that say, I got to have an agent in my neighborhood or right here in the city that I live in. And here's the short story.
I think it's kind of an old school
thing
process, because
they're not used to searching on the internet. All agents have the same tools. Here's the big thing. We all have the same tools. You got to know how to use them.
You have to know how to use them.
You got to know how to use them, how to research it, how to analyze it,
and
how to put it together. It's very
MLS
powerful.
is the #1 MLS in the United States of America. It is very powerful, but you have to know how to get that information. I have buyers that'll tell me, well, I want to get specific in my search, and they get really specific in what they want. And I have to tell them, look, I can do that, but you're going to really limit what you're able to see, because the listing is only as good as the listing agent information that was put in there. So if they didn't put in that it had a 2-car garage and they left it empty, because now our MLS does not require that you check that information, and they leave it empty, guess what? When I go and search, you want a 2-car garage, it may have a 2-car garage, but if the agent didn't put it in there, it's not listed on there and it gets left out. And we know these things because we've done it long enough.
And a lot of times the seller will be like, my neighbor down the street, they sold for this much, and they sold for, I'm like, I didn't see that when I pulled my stuff up, and I'm looking like, that house has a swimming pool and it's 900 square feet bigger than your house. I didn't even pull that information because it's not comparable to your home. And a lot of times sellers in their head, they're like, 900 square feet, is that not very? Do 900 square feet times $150 a square foot. It is a lot of money.
It's like that. It's a lot of money.
And they don't realize that. They're just like, oh, well, I know that they sold it for $800 and you're telling me mine's only worth $600. Well, you don't have a pool and an extra. Those price per square foot add up a lot. And of course, obviously the upgrades. The upgrades on the inside. You can have 2 houses. We talked about side by side twin houses, and this one's original from 1980, and this one has been completely updated. And, this one's probably $200,000 more. People will buy this one first.
So let's go over, while we wrap it up, let's go over the questions again to ask an agent when you are interviewing, because you want to do it. We encourage you interview at least 3.
Yes.
Right. And even agents from the same brokerage,
except don't interview us together. I don't compete against my agent. So if I knew she went, I wouldn't go again. But but anybody else is up for grabs.
Right.
So you're going to ask them, what's your experience? How many transactions have you closed this year and last year?
Yep. You're gonna want to know what's your communication style and how did you come up with the price of my home?
Yep. And don't just pick a number out of the air. So when I come up with the price, I'm showing on paper.
Yes.
I have emailed it. So you usually get what's called a comps and competition from me. You're going to get an email and I'm going to have an Excel spreadsheet that lists, let's just say 10 houses. I'm saying these are the 3 active homes. So these are our competition. I look at every single picture and be like, hey, that one has an updated kitchen and updated bath ones. The second one is original. And I've got notes on everything. So when I come to your house, because remember, I've never been to your house before, and I'm like, okay, you're completely updated in the mirror. So you're close to, comp number 1. Same thing on the solds. And again, active properties, we don't necessarily comp on them because I can list it for $600 all day long. It doesn't mean I'm going to sell it for $600.
We know
right?
this now because
so we look at our competition. Change. What you don't want is Darla's house to be on the market next to my house, and my house is bigger and better than her house, and her house to be more expensive. So if the house is $600 and she wants me to list hers for $650, and I'm like, you don't have a pool, and your house is you're not bigger and better than the neighbor. So that's kind of how we talk about the competition. The comps are what is sold, and I'm letting you look at the pictures. I didn't just come up with a number, okay? I'm showing you where it came from. And then, of course, at the end, what promotion? How are you promoting my product, which is my home? Your videos, your aerials, your descriptions. What websites am I going to be on? What kind of database do you have? What kind of social media presence are you going to have? How are you getting me out there?
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the last things, which is what makes Design Realty Group as a boutique service brokerage, is we offer special services. So are any of these other agents able to offer to you either organization from an outside company or give you tips and tricks on how to organize your house? Can they stage your home? Because we stage for free. Estate planning. Can we help get things cleaned up? Because I always offer a deep clean with mine. And so there's a lot of services that we offer to get you market ready, because I'm having a background in marketing. It's your house, but it's my product, right?
Right.
So I'm going to look at it.
It's a reflection of Darla.
Correct. So
I'm not putting up crappy stuff on
right.
mine.
I'm going to look at it and say, how can we make this look its best? No matter what your budget is, even if you don't have a budget, we're going to talk about that and be completely honest with everything. But I can sit here and tell you the things that I know that buyers, when they come through, they're coming through in 10 or 15 minutes, and I can tell you what they're going to hone in on. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to focus on, so we can get offers and we can get showings. We want people in the house.
Well, that consultation you have with us and our experience. So prior to becoming a real estate broker, I was a paralegal for 20 years. So I'm really good at negotiation, really good at contracts. I'm in your corner, but I am also going to be realistic with you. Yeah. Darla's background is in marketing. So when you put these two together, it comes out to be a really good product.
We bounce things off of each other a lot. I mean, especially when we have some complicated things that come up. We talk about, I've got one right now that I'll be bouncing off over once I go see it.
The other thing that I can tell you that we do differently, that you're going to find very, very few agents able to do that. And I'm not trying to be uppity, but we have the means to assist you. So if you need your house painted and it needs new carpet because the puppies have been in there or the kids have torn it up, and we know that really, really needs to be done because it's really going to hurt the sale of your property, we are able to assist you with our general contractors and get that work done before you actually hit the market. And we will put that in our listing agreement and get reimbursed at closing. So that is something very special. So not only are you getting a free staging, you're getting the ability to have access to our contractors and our business associates. And if you have equity in your home, and we are able to help you get that home on the market, because paint and flooring are two things that are less economical. Am I saying that's cheap? No, and a lot of people don't have the funds to do it, but if they have the equity in their home, we can do that for you and get paid at the end. So if you would like more information on that, again, that's a value that Darla and I give that not everybody else gives. So if you need that, we would love the opportunity to sit down and visit with you, because we like to help our clients as much as we can, because we know it's very, very important to get that house sold quickly and fast and for the most money.
Right. So remember, make sure that we are one of the 3 agents that you interview to sell your home.
Thank you.